All right, and now we are doing part 2 of the same worksheet, long division, no remainder, 3-digit by 1-digit. So the first thing, I'm going to start on number 3, and I'm going to draw the line down. And first step, underline. How many times can 2 go into 6? I know that 2 times 3 equals 6, so I'm going to put my 3 on the side. 2 times 3 equals 6. Add 2 zeros and 2 zeros. Subtract 4 minus 0 is 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 6 minus 6 is 0. Underline the first number. How many times can 2 go into 4? I know that 2 times 2 is 4. So 2 times 2 is 4. Add a 0 here. Add a 0 there. And go ahead and subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 4 minus 4 is 0. Next step, underline. How many times can 2 go into 4? I know that 2 times 2 equals 4, so I'm going to put my 2 on the side. 2 times 2 equals 4. Subtract, and I get 0. Remember, if there's a number other than 0 right here, and it's smaller than the divisor, it's going to become a remainder. Add up the partial quotients. 300 plus 20 plus 2 equals 322. Moving on to number 7, draw your line down and underline the first number. How many times can 4 go into 8? I know that 4 times 2 is 8, so I'm going to put my 2 on the side. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 zeros here, 2 zeros there. Subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 minus 0 is 8. And again, 8 minus 8 is 0. So I'm going to underline the first number. How many times can 4 go into 8? I know that 4 times 2 equals 8, so I put my 8 underneath, a 0 here, and a 0 there. Subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. Now I'm going to underline. How many times can 4 go into 8? 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to put my 2 on the side. 4 times 2 is 8. And subtract, and I get 0 left over. Add up the partial quotients. 200 plus 20 plus 2 is 222. Moving on, draw your line down. All right, and underline the first number. How many times can 5 go into 6? I know that 5 times 1 is 5, so I'm going to put my 1 on the side. 5 times 1 is 5. Add 2 zeros here, 2 zeros there, and subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 0 is 6. And 6 minus 5 is 1. The next thing I'm going to do is underline the 1. I know 5 can't go into it, so I'm going to underline both numbers. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And 5 times 3 is 15. So I'm going to put my 3 on the side. 5 times 3 is 15. Add a 0 here, add a 0 there, and subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 5 is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Underline again. 5 times what equals 10? 5 times 2 I know is 10, so I'm going to put my 2 on the side. Put my 10 underneath and subtract. I get 0 left over. Add up the partial quotients. 100 plus 30 plus 2 equals 132. And again, I'm just writing my answer on the side because I don't have enough space up top. All right, moving over here to number 4, draw the line down. First step is underline. Underline the first number. How many times can 3 go into 6? I know that 3 times 2 equals 6, so I put my 2 on the side. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 zeros here, 2 zeros there, and subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 6 minus 6 is 0. Underline the first number. How many times can 3 go into 4? I know that's 1 time. 3 times 1 is 3. Add a 0 here, add a 0 there, and subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. Underline the 12. How many times can 3 go into 12? I know that 3 times 4 is 12. So put the 12 down here, subtract, and we get 0. Add up the partial quotients. 214 is our final answer. Moving on, put your line down, underline the first number. 4 times 1 gives me 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. That's too many. Put your 1 on the side. 4 times 1 is 4. Add 2 zeros here, 2 zeros there, and subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 0 is 8. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Underline the 1. Can 4 go into 1? It cannot, so we need to underline one more number over. Now we need to think 4 times what can give me close to 18 without going over. I know that 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. That's too much, so I'm going to stick with 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Add your 0 here and add it there. Subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Underline the 20. 4 times what can give me 20? I know that 4 times 5 equals 20. So I'm going to put my 5 on the side. 4 times 5 is 20 and subtract, and I get 0. Add up your partial quotients. 100 plus 40 plus 5 equals 145. And moving on to the last problem, go ahead and draw your line down and underline the first number. 5 times what equals 5? I know that 5 times 1 equals 5, so now we're doing our multiplication. Put the 5 under, add 2 zeros here and 2 zeros there. Subtract. 5 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 0, is 5. 1 minus 0 is 1, and 5 minus 5 is 0. Underline the 1. Can 5 go into 1? Nope, so we're going to underline both numbers. 5 times what equals 15? I know that 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 gives me 15, so I'm going to put my 3 on the side. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract, and I get 0. Remember, if this number is a number other than 0 and less than the divisor, it becomes our remainder. Add up the partial quotients, and we get 103 as our final answer.